Good morning, folks. Negative 43 degrees in Minneapolis. That's literally colder than the surface of Mars. And a massive coastal storm is taking aim at the East Coast this weekend. Three major forecast models, the GFS, European, and Canadian, just agreed on something they rarely do 5 days out. A bomb cyclone developing Saturday that could dump 2 feet of snow from the Carolinas through Boston. Drop your city in the comments right now because the track of this storm shifted 50 miles west overnight. Cities that thought they were safe are now directly in the danger zone, and I need to show you exactly what changed. Here's what's happening at this very moment. Arctic air is absolutely locked in place east of the Rockies, running 30 to 35 degrees below normal. And we're not just talking about a day or two. This pattern has legs through mid-February. Wind chills this morning are hitting negative 20 to negative 30 across the Great Lakes region. And by tomorrow morning, parts of southern Canada could see negative 40. That's frostbite in under 10 minutes of exposed skin. Lake effect snow is absolutely cranking right now with narrow bands about 5 to 10 miles wide, producing sustained 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates. If you drive into one of these bands, visibility drops to near zero instantly. Some areas downwind of the Great Lakes could see another 1 to 3 feet of snow by Friday morning. And this is on top of what's already on the ground from recent systems. We're talking about snow measured in feet, not inches. But the main story everyone's watching is what's developing for this weekend. Because two separate pieces of atmospheric energy are about to phase together off the Carolina coast, creating what could be a monster winter storm. There's energy dropping south out of Canada right now, and there's energy moving north out of the southwest. When these two come together, they create a low-pressure system that can rapidly intensify. When the polar jet from the north and the subtropical jet from the south phase together like this, they can produce what meteorologists call a bomb cyclone. And that's exactly what all three major models are showing. A bomb cyclone, by definition, means the central pressure drops 24 millibars or more in a 24-hour period. And current forecasts show this system potentially dropping from 1,005 millibars Friday evening down to 965 millibars by Sunday morning. When coastal storms intensify that rapidly, they produce thunder snow, where you actually see lightning crackling through the snow bands, and snowfall rates can absolutely explode to 3 or even 4 inches per hour during peak intensity. At those kind of snowfall rates, plows physically cannot keep up with the accumulation. Roads become parking lots within an hour, and people get stranded trying to get home from work or the grocery store. This is exactly why we're talking about preparation right now on Wednesday morning, not Friday night when the storm is already beginning and it's too late to get supplies. Let me show you what the models are indicating. The European model's latest run shows this system hugging the coastline Saturday into Sunday, potentially dropping a foot or more of snow from the Carolinas all the way through eastern Massachusetts. The GFS model keeps the track slightly farther offshore, which would mean the heaviest snow stays closer to the immediate coast. But it still brings 6 to 12 inches to a pretty wide swath of the eastern seaboard. The national blend of models, which combines all the different guidance into one output, is showing widespread 6 to 10 inches with localized areas potentially seeing over a foot where the heaviest banding sets up. Here's the absolutely critical point you need to understand. A 30 to 40 mile difference in the exact storm track means the difference between 3 inches of snow and a foot of snow for major cities like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Philadelphia. That kind of uncertainty is normal this far out, but what's not normal is how consistent the models have been showing a significant storm. They're just still working out those final details on exact positioning. All right, let's talk about who's sitting directly in the bullseye for this system, and I'm going to be completely straight with you. The Carolinas have the highest confidence for significant snowfall accumulation. Charlotte and Raleigh, here's the reality you're facing. You haven't seen a major snow event like this since 2014. Your cities have maybe 10 or 15 snowplows total for your entire metro areas. Think about what happens when a foot of snow falls at 3 inches per hour. Interstate 77 becomes a parking lot. Interstate 40 shuts down completely. People get stranded trying to get home Saturday afternoon. Emergency services can't reach accidents. This cascades into a major crisis very quickly. This is exactly why you need to prepare today, Wednesday. Not tomorrow, not Friday, today. Because once this storm starts Friday night, you're stuck with whatever supplies you have on hand. Current model guidance shows 8 to 15 inches possible for the triangle area around Raleigh and Durham. And if that forecast verifies, that would rank in the top 5 snowstorms on record for your region. We're talking about historic potential here. Greensboro and Winston-Salem, you're in the same boat. Current guidance has you in the 6 to 12 inch range, and your infrastructure is not designed to handle this kind of rapid, heavy snowfall with strong winds. Richmond and Norfolk in Virginia, you're sitting on that critical edge where the exact storm track determines absolutely everything. It could be 4 inches, could be 12 inches. And we should have much better clarity by Thursday evening when the models converge. The Tidewater region, including Norfolk and Virginia Beach, could experience blizzard conditions if this tracks within 20 to 30 miles of the coastline. We're talking about whiteout conditions with heavy snow and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Now here's where it gets really interesting for the Mid-Atlantic corridor. Washington, D.C. is sitting at 20 to 32 degrees right now, with about 8 to 12 inches of snow still on the ground from last weekend's storm that hasn't melted yet. If this coastal storm tracks just 20 to 30 miles closer to shore than the European model currently shows, D.C. could see another 8 to 10 inches on top of what's already there. That's approaching 20 inches of total snow on the ground. If the storm stays farther offshore, like the GFS suggests, maybe you see 2 to 4 inches. Still disruptive, but not catastrophic. And that's why I'm being very transparent about showing you the full range of possibilities here. Baltimore and Philadelphia are in exactly the same situation. You're on that knife's edge where small changes in the track create massive differences in snow totals. And honestly, the models are still showing some wobble on this, which is completely normal. New York City and the surrounding metro area. The GFS model keeps you mostly dry with just a few inches of accumulation. But the European model shows potential for 6 to 8 inches if this low pressure system really hugs the coastline tightly. You've already got 10 to 15 inches of snow on the ground from recent storms. Roads are still icy despite all the salt and treatment. Adding another 6 to 8 inches would create serious problems for the entire region. Boston, Cape Cod, and southeastern Massachusetts, you're in probably the most uncertain position of anyone. You could either dodge this storm completely and see almost nothing, or you could get absolutely buried with over a foot of heavy snow. That difference literally comes down to 40 or 50 miles of storm track, which is still being resolved in the models. If it tracks close, you get hammered. If it stays offshore, you're mostly spared. Which cities are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments right now because I want to make sure I'm covering your specific area thoroughly as this storm continues to develop over the next 48 hours. Now let's talk about what you're dealing with right now before this weekend storm even arrives, because current conditions really matter for how bad this weekend could get. Minneapolis sitting at -5 to 10 degrees, literally colder than the average surface temperature on Mars right now. Wind chills are hitting -30 to -40. This is legitimately dangerous, life-threatening cold. If you're outside Minneapolis right now without proper protection, you can get frostbite on exposed skin in under 10 minutes. Your car won't start, pipes are freezing and bursting. This is as extreme as it gets for the lower 48. Chicago at 5 to 15 degrees with wind chills between -20 and -30. You've got 6 to 10 inches of snow still on the ground from recent systems, and lake effect snow is continuing to add more accumulation. Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo are all dealing with ongoing lake effect snow bands. Temperatures are stuck in the teens, and Buffalo specifically could see another 3 to 5 inches just today alone from persistent lake effect. Pittsburgh is absolutely buried right now under over 20 inches of heavy, wet snow from last weekend's storm. temperatures are 5 to 15 degrees, and roads throughout the metro area remain hazardous despite around-the-clock treatment efforts. While the Midwest and Northeast are dealing with these Arctic conditions, here's the contrast that's absolutely wild and really shows how extreme this weather pattern is right now. Los Angeles is sitting pretty at 65 degrees with beautiful sunshine. Phoenix at 70 degrees, enjoying perfect winter weather. San Diego at 65 degrees, completely disconnected from what the East is experiencing. Half the country east of the Rockies is dealing with brutal Arctic conditions and preparing for potential blizzards, while the other half out west is enjoying mild, pleasant weather. This pattern is as extreme as it gets. Even Florida is about to feel this Arctic blast in a major way. Miami is currently sitting at 60 to 70 degrees, but temperatures are forecast to drop to near 40 degrees by this weekend. People down there literally don't own winter coats. When Miami sees temperatures in the upper 30s and low 40s, that's a huge deal because infrastructure isn't designed for it, homes don't have proper insulation, pipes aren't protected. This becomes a significant problem. Now, let me walk you through the timeline because this storm is developing fast and you need to know exactly when things are going to happen in your specific area. Friday night going into the early hours of Saturday morning, light snow begins breaking out across the western Carolinas and northern Georgia as that southern energy starts to organize and the surface low begins to develop off the coast. Saturday morning through Saturday afternoon, snow intensifies very rapidly as the low-pressure system bombs out just off the Carolina coast. This is when snowfall rates could absolutely explode to 2, 3, even 4 inches per hour. Saturday night into early Sunday morning is when we hit peak intensity with the heaviest snowfall rates and the strongest wind gust. This is when conditions become genuinely dangerous and any travel becomes completely impossible. Sunday afternoon, the storm system starts pulling away toward the northeast, heading toward Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes. But any snow that's fallen is absolutely locked in place by brutal Arctic cold. We're talking about temperatures staying well below freezing for at least a week after this storm, maybe even 2 weeks. So that snow isn't melting anytime soon. It's going to stick around for a long time. All right, let me address the wind situation because this is absolutely critical even if you end up on the edge of the heavy snow. The winds are going to be a major dangerous story all by themselves. Saturday afternoon, we're looking at sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour all along the coastal areas from the Carolinas through New England. Saturday night into Sunday morning, those winds absolutely crank up. We're talking about sustained winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour with gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, possibly even higher along exposed coastlines. The Chesapeake Bay area is particularly vulnerable and could see wind gusts approaching 80 miles per hour if this storm tracks perfectly close to shore. That's legitimate Category 1 hurricane force winds combined with heavy snow. Those kinds of winds snap power lines like toothpicks, uproot trees, tear off roof shingles. You're looking at widespread power outages that could last for multiple days. And remember, it's already well below freezing in most of these areas. Losing electrical power when it's 10 or 15 degrees outside isn't just a major inconvenience. People genuinely die from exposure in these conditions, especially elderly folks or anyone with medical conditions. Picture this scenario for a moment. You're sitting in Charlotte Saturday morning. A foot of snow has fallen overnight at rates of 3 inches per hour. Winds outside are howling at 50 miles per hour, creating whiteout conditions. And then your power goes out. Your house temperature drops from 70 degrees down to 40 degrees in just a few hours. You can't drive anywhere because roads are completely impassable. Emergency services can't reach you. Your phone is dying because you can't charge it. This is exactly why we're talking about preparation right now while you still have time, not Friday night when stores are mobbed and it's too late to get what you need. Stock up on non-perishable food and bottled water for at least 3 full days starting today. Get all prescription medications filled right now. Have batteries, flashlights, and multiple ways to charge your phone and other devices. If you own a generator, test it right this minute to make absolutely sure it's operational. Get fuel for it today, and I cannot stress this enough, generators must stay outside at least 20 feet away from any windows or doors. Carbon monoxide poisoning from improperly placed generators kills people during every single winter storm. Do not run generators in your garage. Do not run them in your basement. Do not run them near windows. This is literally life or death. Fill up your vehicle with gasoline today, Wednesday, because once this storm becomes imminent Friday into Saturday, gas stations will either have lines around the block or they'll lose power completely and you won't be able to get fuel. Check on your elderly neighbors and family members right now today. Make sure they have adequate supplies and a solid plan for how they'll stay warm if they lose power during this extreme cold snap. If you have any travel plans this weekend, anywhere from Georgia all the way through Maine, you need to start thinking seriously about backup options right now, not Friday afternoon when it's too late. Now, let me give you the 3 most likely scenarios with actual probability percentages, because I want to be completely transparent about what we know for certain and what's still uncertain. Scenario 1, which I'd put at about 45% probability right now. The storm tracks relatively close to the coastline, producing significant heavy snow from the Carolinas all the way through the mid-Atlantic and potentially into southern New England. Scenario 2, about 40% probability. The storm tracks farther offshore than Scenario 1, which keeps the absolute heaviest snow mainly in the Carolinas, with lighter amounts as you go farther north up the coast. Scenario 3, about 15% probability. The storm stays well offshore and most inland areas see minimal impact, though even in this scenario, the immediate coastal areas would still see strong winds and some snow. By Thursday evening into Friday morning, the model should really converge and lock in on one solution, and we'll have much better clarity on exactly who gets hit hardest and with how much snow. What I can tell you right now with very high confidence, the Carolinas are definitely going to see accumulating snow from this system. The main question is whether we're talking 6 inches or 16 inches. For areas farther north, the uncertainty is significantly greater, but everyone from the Carolinas all the way through coastal New England should be monitoring this situation closely and preparing for potential significant impacts. Let me know in the comments, are you more concerned about getting exact snow total predictions, specific timing for your area, wind speed forecast, or just general preparation and safety advice? Now let me shift gears for a moment and talk about what's happening way up in the stratosphere, because this actually has massive implications for our weather pattern for the rest of winter going into early spring. The stratospheric polar vortex is in the process of splitting apart, and when that happens, it allows Arctic air to absolutely flood southward across North America. And this kind of pattern can persist for many weeks. Looking ahead at the first week of February, that cold Arctic air remains firmly locked in place across the eastern United States, which is exactly why this weekend coastal storm is even possible in the first place. Going into week 2 of February, the pattern continues with that cross-polar flow, bringing wave after wave of cold air south across Canada right into the eastern U.S. And by week 3, we could potentially see the coldest temperatures since that brutal winter of 2014. This isn't just a quick 3 or 4 day cold snap that moves through and then we warm back up. This is a persistent pattern that could last through late February and possibly even into early March. There are also signals in the long-range models for another potentially major winter storm developing around February 15th through 20th, and this one could target the central United States. Areas that have had a bit of a snow hole this winter, like Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, and northern Illinois, may need to be on guard for a significant system during that mid-February time frame. All right, let's wrap this forecast up with the key takeaways, the most important points you absolutely need to remember from everything we've discussed this morning. Number 1, a bomb cyclone is forecast to develop this weekend with very high confidence for significant impacts in the Carolinas, moderate to high confidence for the mid-Atlantic, and still some uncertainty for areas farther north, but the exact track is still being refined. Number 2, blizzard conditions with near zero visibility are possible along portions of the coast with sustained winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour and gusts of 60 to 80 miles per hour. This isn't just a snow event, it's also a very dangerous wind event. Number 3, all preparation activities need to happen today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday at the latest. Absolutely not Friday night when the storm is beginning. Stock food, water, medications, test generators, fill gas tanks, check on neighbors. All of that needs to happen now. Number 4, the overall weather pattern remains brutally cold through at least the middle of February, with very real potential for record-breaking temperatures and the possibility of additional winter storms beyond just this weekend system. Number 5, if you're located in the Carolinas or Virginia, this storm has genuine historic potential. If you're farther north in the mid-Atlantic or New England, your impacts depend heavily on a storm track that could still shift 30 to 40 miles in either direction. I will be posting constant updates over the next 48 hours as new model data comes in. Drop your city in the comments one more time and let me know what specific questions you have about this developing situation. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button, turn on post notifications so you don't miss any updates, and I will see you in the next forecast. Stay safe out there, folks.